Hey there viewers, welcome back to Ray of All Trades. Today we're going to be working on a challenge. So I was handed this, told me to see if I could get it running. It's a TW200 trail wagon, runabout, 4x2, I don't know, little kids UTV scenario. I've done a couple of preliminaries on it, just dragging it up the driveway here. I do know I need to put a tire on it. This front tire here is just plain bald. The other one's losing air pretty rapidly. And pretty cool, it's got a little dump feature on it, but I hooked up a jump pack to it. The other thing I did was pulled off the fuel cap, looked down inside just to see if I saw any kind of dirt. Then after that, it was on to making sure that I had a good fuel supply. So I disconnected the fuel line from the gas tank. Filter looks terrible. And this style has, this is actually pretty cool. This style has a fuel pump built into the drain. So you see that right there? It has two lines coming up off of it. One of them would be the fuel filter down there, and the other one is a vacuum line. Let me see if I can disconnect this vacuum line and demonstrate why you do this. All right, so here's the vacuum line that I just pulled off the engine. This is the fuel line coming down here, so I'll try to get you in focus here. So I'll try to mimic the motor going. So you can see that the fuel pump is working. The gas coming out of there smells pretty clean. So get the vacuum line hooked back up. All right, next thing I noticed was that this air breather, like a check valve filter or something like that, it was completely clogged with a bee's nest. So I pulled it apart, added a little filter to it. I believe that that canister needs to be able to breathe in order to get let air into the crankcase. I believe it's part of emissions control. Nevertheless, it needs to be cleaned out whether it affects the fuel flow or not. Wow, I don't know if you guys can hear that wind going. So next thing I'm doing, I'm going to crank the motor and see if it's pumping fuel out of there. I got a jump pack on there because the battery I tried to charge and it won't charge. So, yep, I saw fuel coming out. I think you guys saw it better than I did. So, and then the motor actually sounds pretty decent. Next thing I want to check is spark. Make sure we're getting spark. Let's see if we can both work in here. Oh, spark plug was loose. How about that? Of course, I don't smell anything on there. Right, let's get that there. Not sure if I can demonstrate spark from up here, but we're going to try. All right, let's try that. Yep, I saw spark. Hopefully you guys did too. It says ignition coil and everything is good on that end. Compression changed drastically when I pulled the plug out, even though it was a loose plug. So most likely that's good. We'll try to fire it up just as is, but I'm fairly confident that that carburetor is going to be all gummed up. Let me get that fuel line hooked back up. Fuel line's hooked up. Like I said, I don't have high hopes for this thing starting. We're going to give it a try anyway. I'm going to come around the other side so I don't have to sit in a wet seat. Hope you guys can hear me. It's definitely a breezy one out here in the Commonwealth today. All right, guys, I think that's enough. We're going to pull that carburetor, and it's a common problem for these things, and I've done so many of them. I don't want to keep cranking this thing and wear out its starter and all that other stuff, just trying to prove a point. Always disconnect your power source first. Anytime you're messing with fuel, you could get a spark. Pull a fuel line first. It was nice. I saw some fuel come out. Looks like I've got a vacuum hose on this side. Let's get that out. Pull that vacuum line out the way. I'm going to need to loosen up throttle cable. So that should be, is that a 12 or 13? Feels like it might be a 13. Actually, I want to loosen up the other side. I'll show you why. And the other side's a different size. I think it's a 12. Fairly confident you guys are in for a treat, because what happens is they always tighten the bolts up on the bottom of the carb, and then they snap them off so you can't take them out. Yeah, that was a 12 millimeter, by the way. And the reason why I wanted to remove that one instead of this one is because now I pull this off this direction, I know what my setting was for my throttle cable. Spin that cable around and slide it out. All right. Let's get the intake boot off. Regular hose clamp. And then there's one more clamp. Either you can choose to take off the two 10 millimeters here, or there's a hose clamp usually right here. Let's see what kind of design they gave us for that. I can't tell. It looks like they like a one-time tightening up. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull off the entire intake, and we're probably going to have to reseal this once we're done. So that should be two 10 millimeters. Ideal, like I said, if you have a choice, disconnect this clamp first. Second choice would be to remove these two nuts like I'm talking about, or showing you right here. And hopefully you can see them, because I can't see you. Pull off the carburetor. These right here are easier if you just take off these two screws. There's usually a fancy gasket under it that you'll want to make sure goes back exactly the right direction. You don't want to lose it. But this should be for your choke. Alright, there that is. Let's just go ahead and put this on the bench. Okay, so part of it I was wrong. This clamp was accessible. It was right there. The angle I was at looked like it wasn't, and probably my glasses. So I'm just going to put a little sealer on that O-ring before I take it down. But remember when I mentioned that they put the screws in and then they snap them off? I don't know if you guys can see that. See these bolt heads right here that they put the bowl on with? You notice that there's nothing there. All there is a broken off piece of metal right there. So I'm going to try two different things. Number one, I'm going to try my pliers, and then the second thing I'm going to do is use a Dremel and cut a flathead screw in here. So I'm probably going to end up fast forwarding through a lot of this because I have a feeling it's going to be a lot of trial and error. But I got to get this bowl off of here so I can clean out those jets. Okay, so you can see I've just got a regular Dremel with a cutting disc on the end of it. I've also got a set of van pliers. I'm going to back you guys out so you don't miss as I'm pulling this thing all around. But I'm going to try to grab them with the van pliers first. That's one of the things that they're known for. Most of that gas out of there. They didn't leave me a head at all for me to grab a hold of. Let me try to just cut a couple of pieces out of here, and if that doesn't work, then we're going to go straight to, well, scratch that. First thing I'm going to do is go ahead and cut 2 flathead marks in there. All right, get my face shield on. All I'm going to do is gently cut grooves into here. All right, let's see if we can get it this way. Not that one. Not that one yet. Nope. Not yet. Let me get the impact driver. So there's a couple things we could have done. We could have cut a couple of edges onto it, tried to use these van pliers. That may have worked. I opted to go with the cutting a flathead groove into them. Let's just try the impact driver. I'm just wrecking them. All right, my next step is to cut the heads off of them and then try to back them out and just replace them all. Alright. You can see I cut the just cut the heads off of there. I don't know if you can hear me. Just cut the heads off of that thing with a exhaust wheel, exhaust cutoff tool. I'm going to gently try pulling this out. I'm going to grab a couple different tools here. You can see why it wasn't gonna start. I'm guessing since that's in the bottom of the bowl that these really small jets that are right here and here are probably pretty well clogged. Just a guess. They use Loctite on these things. So they get tired of people figuring out how to circumvent their methods. I want you to buy more carburetors because they know they're going to clog. Love these pliers. I'll link them in the description. They've got jaws like crazy on them. They can grab all kinds of stuff. A couple of these are fighting me a little bit. When the pliers grabbing them, but let's see, I need a, should be an 8mm and a different flathead that basically takes up that whole space. If I can. Will that one fit? Oh yeah, that one fits. Just make sure it doesn't slip. Those brass ears in that thing will break right off. So we're going to pull that jet out, and usually that jet is clogged. And then you got to run something through all of these passages too. I usually use a welding tip cleaner. And if I can get this one out, otherwise I'll have to use a, nope, it went. Use a socket for it. So that one's pretty well open. I can actually see through it. But this one, yeah, I'd love to be able to show you guys, but I can't see through it at all. Let's just get some carb cleaner and, or some brake cleaner or something and just clean this thing all up. And then I got to find some screws that match that. Y'all hold tight. I'm going to find all my pieces and I'll be back with you. So I got a little pan, catch everything, some brake cleaner, carb clean, brake clean, something. Clean off the needle. Let's get the pipe cleaner or the welding tip cleaner out. Don't be too aggressive. Make sure you can see through it okay. Get the absolute smallest end you can find, because I think it's probably what it's going to take. Make sure you can pass through all the passages. And you can use strands of copper wire to do this, but the tip cleaners have ridges on the end that are designed to take scale and stuff off. Yeah, this one, I just worked on another one just like this that even the smallest tip cleaner wouldn't clean it out. I can see through it right now. And despite not having a straw, I can actually shoot fluid through it. And I can see daylight through it. Okay. Let's clean out this bowl. You can use an ultrasonic on these things if you want. And I might. I'd like to just see though. Generally, one of these cleanings is enough. All, you know, that's all it needs. Let's clean all that out. Just cleaning off excess dirt more than anything else. So our biggest problem is usually those jets right there. Those jets are this seat. So let's get that back together. Don't go crazy tightening them, it's just brass. Just snug them up. Drop your needle and seat right back in. Not like that. Hey, that gasket finally came out. Put that back in. Let's put the pin back in. So in that position, I shouldn't be able to blow through it. If I flip it over, it works. Flip it back, it doesn't. Okay, let's just, since that gasket's off there, let's go ahead and clean that. All right, I found 4 screws. I'm fairly confident that they're of the M6 variety. I don't think they're M8. They're definitely metric. And they were just in my loose bin. I don't want to lose that gasket. Let's keep that close by. A little bit of gasket sealer, gasoline resistant gasket sealer, 1184. That O-ring should do the trick, but remember I had to cut the old ones off, so there's always the chance that something's not quite right, and I'm also not replacing that gasket. So we're just giving it a fighting chance. Put that on. Looks like they've all got a little bit of threads on them. There we go, and I should be able to get back into that carburetor if I need to. We're going to put a little bit of adhesive on this side. Put the carburetor back on. All right, I'll try from the other side. This way you guys can see if you missed anything on the first one. All right, so I'm going to put a little bit of 1184 on here. I'm going to set this carburetor back down, hook it all back up. I'm going to put that gasket back on. And put this back on. Looks like it goes like that. Yeah, it goes that way. I'm fairly certain only air goes through those passages because that's your enrichener circuit. It's kind of like a choke. Let's try that again. Slide that on down. Let's make sure we're not pinching anything. So that's going to go there. This one goes here. Fuel line goes back over there. And this feels like a crankcase vent. It's actually clogged. I'm definitely going to cut that loose. Just take an inventory before I tighten it all down. Twice I've gone back into the garage, and twice I forgot to grab a 10mm socket, because that would have made this so much easier. Alright, snug that on down. Let's grab this vacuum hose. It should go right there, unless I forgot. This one should go right on here. And there should be a fuel line. There it is. Fuel line goes right down here. Let's pull that clamp back a little bit. Goes to the bottom of the carburetor. Slide the clamp back up. Okay. Alright, now we got throttle cable. Put that in there, wrap it around. I'm gonna pull this part of the cable back until it drops into that groove. And then it slides through. The little groove is so that the cable fits through. Let's see if I remember, one side was 13 and the other side's 12. And what's left? Let's see, that crankcase breather, as that will cause running problems later. Let's get that cleaned out or cut off. I want to say we cut about a ½ inch off of it, because if it's causing running problems, or if it can't exhaust or let out the excess pressure, then it's gonna not push that fuel pump too well. How much of that boot do I have to mess with? Tell you what, I would like to put a piece of tape around that just to hold that steady. It's just a filter housing is all it is. I'm sure if I look long enough I can find a replacement. Put some 100mm tape on there, and let's hook up the battery. And by hook up battery I meant hook up my jump pack, because that battery is shot. Well, let's take a peek and see. Let's see if we can make this thing run. Maybe not. I don't have a good connection somewhere. Ah, there's a choke underneath here. Let me get some air in the tires. Well, that front tire over there has got a hole in it, or a hole in the tube anyway. 14.3 volts. So the alternator is working. I'm not sure how much y'all missed. It doesn't run without a battery, even though the alternator is putting out 14 volts. I threw a towel on the seat, and putting it in drive took a little bit of effort. I had to push it through a couple times, and they tried to fill up the tires, and the one on the other side just keeps leaking air really fast. But let's take it for a quick drive and see what else is going on. I'm gonna go get a tire order for this thing, maybe a couple of front tubes, definitely a battery, but an emergency brake doesn't hold, as I just found out because I live on a hill. Hope you guys got something out of this, and if you did, a thumbs up would really be appreciated. Subscribe helps the channel tremendously, and catch you guys on the next one.